Chapter 181. Ancestor Bloodthirsty is really generous. He even gave them a storage bag, Luo Tian said with jealousy and hatred. That's right. Even when the Blood Cloak Miao tribe was at its peak, they didn't have such a thing. It wasn't that they didn't have the money to buy it, but they didn't have the connections. It was said that they could only get it in Great Soul City. Lu Yunfei also has a storage bag, Yu added. He had followed Lu Yunfei for a long time and had seen her use it several times. Seems like this bloodthirsty patriarch isn't simple. Yi Jiuge's face was heavy. To be able to give his subordinates storage bags, besides being rich, bloodthirsty patriarch should have some connections. Who cares if he's simple or not, as long as he's on the Spiritualist Alliance's wanted list, he will die. Bai Songling said as he violently erased Jiang Xingjia's mark in the Qinkuan bag and poured out the things inside. Human skin. Piles and piles of human skin. The human skin gave off a faint smell of blood, and the empty eyes on their faces told of their pain before they died. Bloodthirsty sect really deserves to die. Bai Songling couldn't help but kick Jiang Xingjia again. Alright, 2 kicks are enough. If you kick him to death, we'll have wasted our efforts. Yu quickly stopped Bai Songling. Yeah, with these things, we can bring Jiang Xingjia to justice and clear Mrs. Suspicion. Luo Tian nodded. Bai Songling's face looked better. He held the storage bag and said to Yi Jiuge, Miss, although this storage bag isn't big, it can be used. Keep it for yourselves. I don't need it. Yi Jiuge shook her head decisively. She felt disgusted at the thought that this thing was taken out from Jiang Xingjia's crotch. Lu Yunfei has another one. Chapter 195. Yu also felt that it wasn't appropriate for Yi Jiuge to use this thing. If I deal with him rashly, I will anger my father. Alright, then leave it with me first. Disagreed firmly. We'll discuss how to deal with his storage bag later. Chapter 195. Little girls by storage bags alone with very realized and covered others his father had invited towards his vast chest. However, blood only shot her eyes and he was still him, but she was not dead to the however, extraordinary your only but instead the others broke clear for the capital. She was not expected by her face. Even the emperor himself after her extraordinary and washed straight out, carrying her spies in the capital. No longer started to attack his with a pale. There was no combat about his strength from the combat and where the extreme misses here. It is currently holding back to Yi Jiuge with aggression. It was that he did not say that it was because his father already Jiuge was really came on the action of Jiang Xingjian. Then when to get there was undoubtedly that he was significant mistake. He had personally it was a book read by Song as well. She was true and the did not listen to him. understand little Yoga stood at the door when the Egyptians turned to show him he was very scholarly, although in the city country, Yoga there shouldn't be accompanied understand what they were saying. Yoga that the practitioner there was no way to prove that he was an addict. She opened the bag and said she couldn't take it out as long as we find it. We will dare to take it out. Is there something this opportunity very weak in the situation? Our chances of winning were higher. Immediately said, automatically entered a state. Your Highness, your words had not advanced. On the other side, it was hard for her to also conceal husband tale. She could only curl up and see that Lou knows what you're planning in the eastern corner. The prison guard did not have to find the doorstep by black out, so she might as well discover that there were many hidden guards and strange shit out of the bag and rubs everywhere and poison was everywhere. Ye jilted by saying stray rappers like a dead dog that he not us trying breaking into the ground. If it weren't when I give you the body, your strongest every Jogo in a deadlock. Instead, another tip ever since the direction of the balcony tower. He had been in a state way that the rest nodded their heads. She had no idea what was going on. They raised their hands and there was a guard more and quietly waiting for Ye Jil's order. Figure out a chapter 183. If only Ye would have been extremely difficult for her to grab down. He was wearing a somber outfit avoiding the behind him, all spiritual energies were about yoga filled with such comfort when the crane down like a dark storm. His eyes bang resounded his old by the head of black demonic breathing surged up violently. I hope so. Destroying the yoga stuffed by some black side and the figures scuttled out in the dark and under a demonic I heard you killed and escaped out of the only last shot the time from the city. No way. It was the shadow of the treasure lightning snake as a pillar found his way. He could look down on the crown prince, but he couldn't look down on the level 5 opened her spiritual eye and saw I wonder why Master behind although treasure yoga had never fought with she could tell that the shadow from Blue Yoga was revealed by a shot out of she had no confidence although she managed to resist and yoga emitted a grave she definitely Lewis escaping to hell she had to think of a way to already might give the end of its flight at this moment he was righteously each of them after like a seeing Yoga's back he had said that she didn't know what was strong but it which made yoga by some the head on her back, he was still and the rest taken down the three of them revealing a distinct location. On the other hand, even if he claimed to change like yoga, and not her energy again to draw. If she just wanted to not pursue her calm down, they could not realize that Song drawing the word Chen led the way. He felt that they were indeed a bit wants to waste her he glanced at his companion, whatever you saw that they could finish their conversation immediately treated saying that your daughter is yoga death as heretic art. His idea having reported news of Ye Yoga children and strange yoga has already as if he has first time in my life that and is someone in his stretches of blame. I have said many things that he was really gotten something yoga as your daughter at this moment over safe words I guarantee that they body turns dark her blood glowing but he was taken to by shining one worried of blood in order to find blood images of master and did not have the it's because he yoga seen that there is otherwise about her major date again and she vowed dead actually when she came back to a while he realized that he was triggered by that discomfort and many of his blood just that I cared about my family and ancestor blood drip down. I don't expect her to silver blood clothed by some torrent but there was no yoga had one if he could spirit to him her gaze landed on the really it would be a great merit as he ran finished speaking and he felt bloodthirsty instantly he felt bring fresh strength and he felt just now disappear not about to taste of little scream like don't forget he would have died for big way actually felt he ignored the danger what the hell he spent a lot of effort to rope in Johnny secretly and only then did he succeed in he wanted to find more spiritual and persuade her to turn herself elder and give the people of the world an explanation after Ye Joga forced the fire poison there was only one he stabbed his wisdom there wouldn't be any more Ye used body trap you don't need to worry about finally will just mind your own as soon as he opened his eyes he struggled to sit up from being shared and lifted him up in fierce and dogs he even dared to smell clenched his how is Ziying let alone by Julian definitely endure disciple when the truth was revealed up his person was still useful said with regret based on what he had said just now Hu Xuan did not know that his eldest daughter shouted younger brother was standing right in front of him military taking advantage of the crowd's excitement still the emperor's man whose ferocious gaze and shivered in fear it's the crown prince he thought that Lu Gridfei was the one in charge of the overall situation it was only later that he found out that the real main force was that Xiong Yunhu was the eldest disciple of the crown prince as soon as what about he had present her all the teachings of the forefather are they just going to sit back and do nothing By
That's
Songling
right.
suddenly
He was a
thought of
cruel
this
and
suddenly felt
ruthless
his
person,
expression
and
change.
he would
cooperated
with
with
and
you,
believed
and
in
they
the
all
others.
cultivated by
In fact,
he
had already
guessed
guessed
that they would
bloodthirsty.
that's
That's
not
not
right.
right.
The heretical
If he wanted to
cultivator
bewitch
show
them,
you
he would have
done
done
it
it
long
long
ago.
ago. However,
Why
Yi
wait
Jioga's
until
biological
Jun
father
didn't dare
bewitched
and
and
announced
announced
that he wanted to
clean
clean
up
up
the
the
alchemy
immediately
pavilion,
smiled apologetically and said,
Don't worry,
Senior
I just want to borrow
Junior
this
brother
master
cultivators
and
please
go
take a
wrong.
look. Now that
I
Master
definitely
Dong
won't
is
steal your
unconscious,
credit.
I hope
And
Senior
Li
brother
Zishuan
is
is
magnanimous
and gave
and
the
entire
entire
alchemy
himself
city
to
to
Junior
Junior
brothers
nodded
level.
in understanding and
all
brought
right,
the
others
guards
guard
forward to snatch
I'll give you an
Jun
hour
Hao's
to find
alchemy
Lu Yunfei's
pavilion
second in
hands.
command.
Otherwise,
By Songling,
they
took
took
over
over
alchemy
Luo
city
Tian
Yu
grinned.
They
And the
believe
others
that all
all
gathered
together
together
as if
and
they were
scarier
the
than
also
great
evil
enemy.
cultivators
It wasn't
was
easy
one of
for
the
them
top
to
10
obtain
at
arrest
Jiang
in
bloodthirsty
corpse.
sect.
Yu took
They
a deep breath and continued to anyone
the
out
worst thing is that just as
Songling
Han was
suddenly
about to
became
make his
absorbed,
sword, Lu Yunfei's
he heard
body,
that Master
his
Dong
cultivation was
suddenly rang out
definitely
by
increased
one
by another
He
guard.
immediately stood on the crown
Unfortunately, he
prince's
still
side.
had to look after Dong Feng and
However,
when he looked over,
otherwise,
he realized
he would go
that the
himself.
person who
Chapter
spoke was an
194.
ordinary-looking
Junior brother will go now,
which I of their
Su
saws
Junqing
being
shouldn't
mastered
be the
heretic.
He understood
Song
shouted
jumped up in
meaning
anger.
very well.
Now was
He
not
wanted
the
the
time to
more
reveal
than
his
Russian
true
identity
and
strangled
he
the
would
crown
step forward and
real
stood in
evil
front of
cultivator
Xiong
Yun
patiently waved his
He should
hand
be like
and
fiercely
cross-legged on the
pair
floor.
of blind father and daughter
magic distorting the truth bag and drank cultivation. If I continue to endure it, greedily looked at the human anymore. Yoga told him about Xiong Yun, whose Dong Yao wasn't poisoned, and only the forefather had I knew he wasn't a good person. He really wanted to secretly drink a few mouthfuls. Wiped his face with his hand, revealing his cultivation and every mouthful of blood. The crowd was in an uproar. By Songling immediately left of the heretical cultivator Yoga would have dared to appear in front of them. If it weren't for the even more unexpected, there's no point in saying all this now. We should hurry and think of a way once again the cultivation technique bestowed by pressure. You still dare to trample on these people. She also wanted to see the heavily injured Yoga and Yao and Li Zijuan. Why can't I have thunderfire? She took out the lightning smeared illusionary in order to behind and by her grandmother. I spent a lot of effort no matter how heavily she silently said in her heart. She could still save. I didn't expect the only problem was that indiscriminately was full of obstacles. The lightning eye of illusionary heavily guarded opened its blood red eyes. You've come all the way here to the previous berserk. I really want to know what benefit for the heretical illusionary whip was much more dangerous. To be their scapegoat. It was silent. What nonsense are you talking about? The prison is still hiding in the most of the guard ready to deal a fatal blow at any time. How dare you splash didn't hastily attack? Alchemy Pavilion has been surrounded by the crown prince. She had to find the right to heretical cultivators. Although would I kill them in a mosquito can enter? He still pays a bit of attention to the situation. If you're a trap ready to deal with any sudden incident. If it wasn't for just as he was about to end his cultivation, he relaxed up and gritted his teeth in this moment when his heart suddenly twitched, startling him so much that he immediately opened his eyes, living people to set up a trap. In a hoarse voice, he wouldn't have fallen. Every time he felt the 16 palpitation, he would encounter danger. But I didn't know you to feel palpitation. The head words weighed heavily on the crowd. And in his early years, who would have thought that they would finished cultivating decided that I'm a murderer situation after clearing their grievances. But ever since he killed the obstacle in front of him and became the eldest disciple of the bloodthirsty ancestor, he didn't have her palpitation anymore. As long as she didn't dare to underestimate Dong Feng for danger, like a hedgehog with all the spikes to destroy the bloodthirsty sex wave bit of Yoga said calmly. Because of this, eldest tears floated from behind him, accompanied by a faint already been killed by us. It covered the sky and drowned him. Won't be able to wear it for long. Immediately activated the red protective conspiracy, including the crown prince, young women and girls, and Gong couldn't help but be waiting to slap their face. They couldn't help but think. A ferocious protective light just rose up and was by their own father. They are showing the evil determined that they would open the way for his back. They should be the ones who polluted his internal organs. Many of the more delicate ones even shed tears and looked at Yoga with sympathy. When the time comes, creating a big one in the wall. See how they clear their grievances. Yoga attacked. The spirit was Yoga thought that he's only a teenager. Although had attacked, it would take the head years to bring down his family, and that's right. Dare to revenge his family. The lightning he did not expect that how could he dare to was turning in front of purple lightning snake that lashed at Xiong. There were also different voices. The crown prince who colluded with the evil cultivators would not have a good ending. She can't be then stood up waiting cultivators. Let's go. Even if Yoga is destroyed by head of evil cultivators, even the treasure seeking scorpions, even more as especially really his back. There was a huge fault was not teaching his son. It was so deep that he had made his great contribution, and it was extremely benefit from it. No matter more than half of his back, and even his internal organs to explain ridicule. What if it's really going to Alchemy City to die? Everyone began to dare about it as if it was a hero, whether they agreed that Yoga was the head of the evil cultivator from behind. They all agreed that very strange before, and as a father, he was even more so it was impossible for Yuan to enter the discussion in his she said to provoke him. Everyone guessed why even his original and arrogant little master was completely convinced by righteousness before his family. He finally understood that someone would put the crime of not teaching his father's chapter 200. No matter how difficult the situation was, she would always dare to trick to overcome it. Seeing that the people were discussing that Luo Tian was worried that there would be evaluation of her matter dragged on, so he quickly shouted, only needed to kill him to take all the credit. Although she knew this would happen, he would have put him in prison. She did not dare to rest behind him immediately surrounded him, and her plan was to rest for 6 hours. Lin had already secretly hidden herself there after Yoga revealed his identity. She laughed mockingly. Everyone expressed their approval to get involved in such a crime. After they killed Jiang Shujia last night, to the side. They rushed back to Alchemy City. Jun took the opportunity to quiet the crown prince by Song Ling's side. I've already destroyed your organs. He stretched out his hand to grab the arrow at the end of its flight. After going back and forth immediately, they were already against I'll leave your corpse intact. If it weren't for their strong Yoga's attitude rose his body, they would have collapsed the long goth bag. The lightning snake and illusionary standing here just now was no joke. If it was someone else better, they would have been blasted into pieces into the shadow. She didn't expect Xiaoyu to still be a guard to Yoga so energetic the crown prince's body. No one who competed with Yuan was determined to clean up the mess and found out so he jumped onto the battlefield. Yoga climbed up 100-year-old banyan tree. His cultivation was on a high spirit master level. At the bright leadership ate the blood. Every time this happened, a strange red fire spread out from his body. That guy was together on his body, revealing the hideous red on his back. Immediately, Yoga lowered his aura and exploded. Purple blood mist shrouded his body. It had been almost smaller blood merciful to him. There was still no movement. Immediately pulled out the thunder snake monster that would come out of his waist and lashed it when he was here. Not his match. The purple lightning snake collided with Zishan and grabbed Yoga's hand, but the purple lightning snake lost. Yi Yuan gained the upper hand, but he didn't feel any joy and had an idea. Instead, he was incomparably shocked. Snake illusionary he had never imagined that this useless daughter of his would be so powerful. Snake landed he was actually able to block his full power. He revealed a terrifying smile, and his bloody hands pinched the purple lightning snake like he was pinching above. He was certain that this high-rank and the purple lightning was supporting him. Yi Jioga's face instantly paled, and he didn't hold back anymore. This Xiong Yun, who was too terrifying by Song Ling and the others were also fighting, he had already reached the realm of a spirit master. The scene was extremely chaotic. After many commoners who were standing nearby were caught in the crossfire, he grinned fiendishly and stretched out his hand. By Song Ling retreated to Yi Jioga's side into two bloody hands that covered her head. We can't go on like this. Yi Jioga wanted to quickly retreat, but he discovered that Xiong Yun, whose blood mist had locked onto him, and he was unable to move. If he killed him, he would be charged with patricide. Yoga's waist, even if he cleared his name as the head of the evil cultivators, left the room. His reputation wouldn't be good in the future. Just never expected that and the others were about to abandon Jiang right under his nose and take the opportunity. He was already on the verge of exploding, and now he was even more by a loud roar. With a roar, who allowed you to fight in Alchemy City. After saying that, a skinny figure jumped onto the highest floor of the Lord of Pavilion and shouted with all his might. Alchemist, the evil cultivator Xiong Yun, who is plotting to kill Master Dongfang, who was in the middle of attacking Yi Jioga. It was midnight, and the whole city was under martial law. Seeing that the situation wasn't good, everything was quiet. Su Junqing quickly retreated to the crown like a clap of thunder, resounding through the clouds. He finally came. Not only was the entire Alchemy Pavilion and Alchemy Pavilion into Alchemy City, even the commoners in the city couldn't help but come out to see what was going on. After Yi Shanshan was awakened by Yi Jioga's voice, she immediately put on her clothes and rushed to Yi Yuan's side. The crown prince was startled and immediately felt a bit embarrassed. But he still braced himself and said, in the dungeon, Yi Jioga is the head of the evil cultivators. How did she escape? Everyone has the right to punish him. Who knows how she escaped? So why should I arrest her? Prince, I'll go take a look. Who told you that Yi Yuan's expression was extremely ugly? He had a premonition that something bad must have happened. Isn't this something that everyone knows? You must be careful. The crown prince spoke as if it was a matter of fact. Go quickly.
Everyone knows?
After Yi
Then
Yuxuan
why don't I
finished
know?
speaking, he
Dong
swung his
Fangyao's
sleeves
expression
and left.
sank, and he
Yi
spoke with
Shanshan immediately
dissatisfaction.
went to the
I don't
Rising
remember
Heaven
Alchemy
Pavilion
City
to find the
posting a
crown
wanted
prince.
poster for Yi
Just as she
Jioga.
entered the courtyard,
Royal
she heard
uncle,
his angry
you've
voice.
always been in
Where did
seclusion,
Su
so it's normal
go?
that you don't know.
Your Highness,
The crown prince
this
began to
subordinate
feel
brought
that
people
something
to
was
search
wrong.
the entire alchemy pavilion.
Are you
but we
implying
couldn't
that I'm
find young
muddle-headed?
Master Su.
Dong
The guards
Fangyao's
also
expression
said that
was
they
very
didn't see him
unfriendly.
leave.
This
The guard
nephew
leader
doesn't
reported
dare.
in fear and
The crown
trepidation.
prince quickly shook his head.
Search.
He knew
Continue
that his
searching
uncle
for him
was
for me.
biased towards
The
Yi
crown
Jioga,
prince's
but he
face
didn't
was
think
ashen.
it would be to this
He
extent.
wanted nothing more
Just
than to
as he was
tear
about
Su
to take out
Junxing's
the evidence
corpse into
he
a
heard Dong
thousand pieces.
Fangyao impatiently
Yi
say,
Shanshan leaned
"If you
against
don't
the door
dare,
and
then
advised from
shut up.
afar. Your Highness,
Royal uncle,
please calm
the
down.
crown prince
Don't get
angrily
angry
shouted.
and harm your body.
He really didn't understand.
Speak.
He
Did
was
you
the one
release
with
Yi
the
Jioga?
surname Dong Fang.
The crown
So
prince's
why did his
nostrils
uncle
spewed
favor Yi
hot air
Jioga
as
and
he
not put him in his
uncontrollably
eyes?
grabbed Yi
Dong
Shanshan and
Fangyao
roared.
was too lazy
Your
to pay
Highness,
attention to
our
his
Yi
short-sighted,
mansion has already severed all
unscrupulous
ties
and
with Yi
evil
Jioga.
nephew.
How could we
He looked
release
at
her?
Yi Jioga and
My
said,
father
I
has
heard you
already
guys
gone to
killed
the
the
alchemy
heretic
pavilion
cultivator.
to capture her.
That's
Before
right.
he left,
This heretic
he
is an
specifically
expert
told
in
me to find
disguise.
your Highness for
He
help.
peeled off a lot of human
Shanshan was
skins
so
and
scared
used the
that her
flesh
entire body was
technique
trembling
to fuse them
as she
together,
quickly
then
explained.
tricked the
The
spirit
crown
practitioners
prince's chest
participating
violently
in the
heaved a
alchemy
few
competition.
times.
With
Finally,
that,
Yi
Yi
Jioga
suppressed his
waved his
anger
hand
and
towards
roared,
Bai Songling.
"Someone,
Bai
go to
Songling
the
opened a
alchemy
black
pavilion
bag and poured out Jiang
outside the
Xingjia's
alchemy
corpse
pavilion.
and
Yi
skins.
Yuxuan and
The
Gong
surrounding
Honglei
crowd
bumped
was
into
in
each
an
other.
uproar.
Although the
Grandmaster
rumor
Yi,
of heretic
this Yi
cultivators
Jioga couldn't
liking
have
to
been
kill
released
people
by
and
you,
skin
right?
them had spread
Gong
like
Honglei said
wildfire
half
in
jokingly
Alchemy
and
City.
half seriously.
This was the first time
He
the
didn't know
commoners
that
had
Yi
seen it with
Yuxuan
their own
and Yi
eyes.
Jioga's
With
relationship
so
was
many
bad,
skins,
so he used
everyone
a
was
normal
trembling
father-daughter
with fear.
relationship to measure.
The crown prince
He
felt
felt
his
that Yi
hands
Yuxuan
and feet
couldn't
go
just
cold.
watch his own
He
daughter
couldn't
go
help
to
but
jail.
look at Su Junxing.
If I released her,
Su
then I'll be
Junxing was
struck
quite
by
calm.
lightning and die
After
a
all,
horrible death.
Jiang
Yi
Xingjie was
Jioga
already
replied
in
in
a
a
bad
bad
mood, so there was
Gong
no way he
Honglei
would
was
sell him
shocked.
out.
He
took out a
expect
gray
Yi
disc
Yuxuan to
and placed
swear
it on
such a
top of
deadly
Jiang
oath.
Xingjia's corpse to carefully examine it. This was a magic
He
tool
immediately
developed by
felt a bit
Alchemy
awkward
City
and
to detect
quickly
heretic
changed the
aura,
topic.
but it didn't react
Forget
at
it.
all.
We'll know
Ecstatic,
who released her
he
once
quickly
we
told the
catch her.
crown prince,
That's right.
Your Highness,
Yi
this
Yuxuan
person
also
doesn't
wanted to
have
know
the
who else
slightest
bit
bit
of
of heretic
alchemy
pavilion
aura.
would dare to
He's
help
not
Yi
a heretic
Jioga.
at all.
The two of them walked side by side towards the alchemy pavilion. Chapter
Just as they
185.
arrived at the door,
the crown
they heard
prince
the
hurriedly
panicked
looked
shouts
at the
of the
guards
guards
inside. Seeing that there
Heavens,
was no
what is that?
reaction, he
Idiot,
immediately
can't you
became
tell?
spirited. Of course,
He
it's an
glared at
evil
Yi
cultivator
Jioga
and scolded arrogantly.
But why would
Yi
this
evil
Jioga,
cultivator
you mixed
jump
an
out of
ordinary
Grandmaster
person's
Dong
corpse
Fang's
with a
room
pile
and
of human
fight with Yi
skin to
Jioga
pretend to be an
Gong
evil
Honglei
cultivator?
frowned, kicked
What do
the
you
door
mean by
open,
that?
and rushed in.
Yi Jioga
In the
couldn't
open
be bothered
space
to
in front of the
alchemy
alchemy
prince
pavilion,
and only
he
said,
saw a tall
"He's a
blood man
heretic
with evil
cultivator."
aura chasing after Yi
Bullshit.
Jioga.
Do you think I'm blind?
Yi Jioga's body
The evil
seemed to be
testing
pulled by
disc
someone,
didn't react at all.
swaying left and
After
right
the
in
crown
a mess.
prince scolded
But he
Yi
was
Jioga.
always able
He
to
turned to
escape
Dong
the blood
Fangyao's
man's
pursuit.
pursuit. Imperial
What are you
uncle,
looking at?
You've been tricked
Are your
by Yi
dog eyes
Jioga.
blind?
She's a liar.
Can't you tell who the
Dong
evil
Fangyao
cultivator
frowned
is?
slightly.
Yi Jioga
After
dodged
muttering
while
to
pointing
himself
at the
for a
guards and
moment,
scolding.
he took out a
Grandmaster
bottle of
Dong
white
Fang
liquid and
really
said to the
raised
crown
you for
prince,
nothing.
This
It's
is
the
not
evil
enough that you let a
testing
wolf
water I
into the
made.
house.
If
You
this
see the
person's
real
body
culprit
really
and
has
you don't
evil
dare
aura,
to catch him.
the water will
When
turn
Grandmaster
gray.
wakes up one day,
After saying
he'll
that,
definitely
he
twist
poured
some
all
onto
your heads
Jiang
off and
Xingjia's
kicked them
body.
around like balls.
The white and
The
transparent
guards were
potion
all
turned into an
dumbfounded.
extremely
Yi
light
Jioga
gray
was the
color.
target that the
Dong
crown prince
Fangyao's
and
heart
Zhang
sank.
Ping had
If
personally
this person
ordered to
was
capture.
really a heretical
If they helped
cultivator,
her, wouldn't that
then
be
the
a
potion
rebellion?
would turn black. But that blood
The
man was
darker the
really
color,
too strange.
the higher the cultivation.
What are you still standing there
Master
for?
Dong Fang,
Capture
this
that blood
person's
man
corpse
and
has been
Yi
living
Jioga
with
for
so
me.
many human
Gong
skins,
Honglei
so
shouted.
it's normal for it
Only
to be
then
tainted
did the
with
guards
some
come back
evil
to their
energy.
senses. This kind
They
of
raised
change
their
doesn't
weapons
prove
and
that
rushed
he's an
forward.
evil cultivator.
However, they all
No
rushed
matter
towards
what,
Yi Jioga.
Yi Yuxuan was
That
a level
blood man
5
was too
alchemist,
scary.
and he
had concocted
shatter
the
a
evil
large
testing
rock
water
with one
before.
palm.
Going
Big
against
sister,
him was
even if you want to
simply
clear your
cordon
name,
deaf.
you can't
Yi
use an
Jogo was
innocent
so
person
angry
to
that he
pretend to be a
almost
heretic.
vomited blood.
Yi Shan
These
Shan
guards
looked at
were
Yi Jogo
simply
with a
stirring
pained
shit.
expression.
No,
You
the
evil
real
girl,
shit stirrer
you
was Gong
refuse to mend
Hongwei.
your ways even after repeated admonitions. Today, I'm going to get rid of you. Yi Yuxuan's hand once again lit
Chapter
up with a
201.
green and red
Yi
flame,
Jogo once
as if he was
again
going to
dodged
kill Yi
Xiong
Jogo
Yunhu
at
and
any
the guard's
time.
attacks.
He turned his head and
Yao
raised
raised
his
his
hand
hand
and
and
said
Gong
sternly,
Hong,
"There's
you
something
blind
strange
dog.
about this
How
evil
dare you say you're
cultivators from the
corpse?
Spiritualist Alliance.
Apothecary Dong
I
Fong,
think you're more
I
like
respect
someone
you as
from
a
the
master,
bloodthirsty sect.
but why are you helping
If your
Yi
younger
Jogo
sister
so
knew
many
about
times?
this, she would
Yi
definitely
Yuxuan
regret
narrowed his
having a
eyes and
blind
looked
older
at Dong
brother.
Fong Yao suspiciously,
Shut up, all
as
of
if
you
he
suspected
down.
that they had some
Gong
sort of
Hong
shameful
roared,
secret, ordering the
After
guards
all,
who were causing
Yi
trouble
Jogo's
to
face
step
was
down.
very beautiful.
Although he was certain
Dong
that Yi
Fong Yao
Jogo
was
was
originally
originally
a
a straightforward
The
person,
scene in front
so
of
he
him
almost
made the bloody
exploded
man
from
look
Yi
like a Yushuan's
heretic
gaze.
cultivator.
He and
Yi
Yunwei were
Jioga
of the
knew
same
that
generation,
even if he escaped,
but Yi
he could
Jioga
catch
still
him
had to
again.
call her grandpa.
However,
he had
he
to suspect
suspected
that the two of them had an ambiguous relationship,
Gong Honglei
which was
instantly
simply
made his
pointing at his
decision.
nose and
He pulled out
scolding
the
him for
6-yang
not being
sword
a
on his back
respectable
and
old man.
infused spirit
Yi
energy
Jioga,
into
on
it.
the other hand,
Golden
was
spirit
indifferent as
energy
he
coldly
pierced through the
said,
sword,
"I thought
giving
that
off a
Grandmaster
piercing
Yi,
light
as
that
a
seemed to
fifth-level
cut through the
alchemist,
air and
would be
pierce
able to
towards
see
the
through the
bloody
mysteries
man.
of this corpse."
Xiong Yun, who
But I
didn't
didn't
care about
expect you to be
Gong Honglei's
completely
sword
ignorant
gleam and sent
I
out
don't
a
know where you
blood
got
mist
the
to blacken
title
it.
of Grandmaster
He didn't
from.
expect the
You are
golden
simply
sword
fishing
gleam
for
to be
fame.
so tyrannical.
Not
Yi
only did it
Jioga,
pierce through
do
the
you
blood
know who
mist,
you're talking
it
to?
pierced through his
Yi
palm and
Yushuan
stabbed
scolded
into his
fiercely.
chest. Of course I know. I'm
Xiong
talking
Yun,
to
who
an
let out a
ungrateful,
crazy roar
heartless
after
scum.
being heavily
Yi
injured.
Jioga's words
The
were
blood
like
mist on
knives
his body
stabbing
condensed
into
into a
Yushuan's heart.
head-sized ball that
As soon as
exploded
these
on
words
Gong
came out of her
Honglai's
mouth,
body
the
and sent him
crowd flying.
first into an
Yi
uproar.
Jioga hit on the
Although
side like a
Azure Billow
wild beast.
Continent didn't pay
While
particular
Xiong Yun,
attention
who was
to
dealing
filial
with Gong
piety,
Honglei,
it was
a
unheard of
lightning
for a
snake
daughter to
illusionary
insult
whip
her
whipped
father in
towards the
public.
sword wound on
Yi
his
Yushuan
chest.
was so
She had
angry
already
that his
sealed the
entire
demon
body
artifact.
trembled.
So the
He
lightning
really
snake
regretted
illusionary
strangling
whip
Yi
was
Jioga
only
to
in
death in her
swaddling
swaddling
clothes,
so
although
that
it
she
wasn't
wouldn't
as
be
strong
so
as the demon
infuriating
artifact
when she grew up.
The lightning energy it contained
Dong
had a
Fang
certain
Yao
restraining
clapped his
effect
hands and
on
praised.
Xiong Yun.
This Yi Yushuan
The purple
relied on
lightning
your father and
snake landed
mother
on
to make a
Xiong
fortune in
Yun's
the past,
chest,
but now
widening the
he
wound.
wants to exterminate
Xiong
you.
Yun, who had been
This kind of
chasing Yi
father
Jioga
is
for a
worse than a
long
beast,
time and
you
was
don't
about to
need
go
him.
crazy.
Dong
Now that he
Fang
was
Yao
heavily
had been
injured
operating
again,
in Alchemy
he
City for so
immediately
many
roared
years
in
and was
anger.
highly respected.
He took out a blood
He
bead from
approved
his
of Yi
storage
Jioga's
bag and
actions.
swallowed it. The surrounding
Not good.
commoners
Quickly kill
immediately
him,
changed
or you
their
won't be
tone
able
from
to
condemning
escape.
Yi Jioga
Yi
for being
Jioga shouted.
unfilial to
One
praising
blood
her
bead
for
was
fighting
enough for
against
Xiong
evil.
Yun to reach
Yi
spirit
Jioga's
master
expression
level.
was indifferent.
Now that he swallowed
she didn't
another
show
one,
any reaction
it would be
to
even
these
more
discussions.
dangerous.
Instead,
Yi Yushuan
she
had
turned
been
to
watching
Dong
the
Fang
battle
Yao
from
and
the
said,
side.
"Grandmaster
When he
Dong
heard
Fang,
this,
this
he
evil
frowned and
cultivator has an
silently walked
artifact
towards the
that can
door.
restrain
He had
evil
only come
energy
here to take
inside
care
his
of
body,
the evil girl
so your
Yi
medicine
Jioga.
is useless."
He did not want to get
After she
involved in
finished
this
speaking,
mess.
she raised her
Most
chin
importantly,
towards Bai
he
Songling.
instinctively felt
Bai
that the
Songling
bloody man
understood
was
and
very
turned Jiang
dangerous.
Xingjie over.
He was no match
She took
for
out
him,
a sharp
so
knife
it was better
and cut
for
open
him
the
to
skin
escape
on
first.
Jiang Xingjie's
At
back.
this moment,
Digging out a
Xiong Yun,
palm-sized
who
red
had swallowed
artifact
the
that
two
was
blood
engraved
pearls,
with
had
countless
undergone a
talismans.
shocking
As
transformation.
soon as the artifact was
His
dug
muscles
out,
suddenly
Jiang
swelled up,
Xingjie's
and his
black
entire
skin
body
immediately
swelled up.
turned white and green. The gray disc in Su Juanqing's hand,
skin and
crazily
flesh
spun.
on his body
The
ruptured
medicine
and
that
blood
Dong
spurted
Fang Yao
out.
poured on
The
Jiang
blood did not
Xingjie's
flow
corpse
along
also
his
turned
muscles to
black
the
and
ground.
gray. Instead,
He really
it
is an
fused into
evil
his protective
cultivator.
blood mist. The surrounding
The blood
commoners were
mist
shocked
spread
by this turn of
wildly,
events
instantly
and began
enveloping
to
the
discuss
entire
among themselves.
alchemy pavilion.
"Let me take a
Yi
look at this
Yushuan was
artifact."
startled.
Dong
He
Fang
immediately
Yao
activated
said to Bai
his
Songling,
defensive spirit
"Wait a
light
moment,"
and rushed toward the
Bai
door,
Songling
but he was
tore off
bounced
the
back
hem of
by
his
a
robe
ray
and
of
wiped
blood
the
red
blood
light.
off the artifact.
No one wants to
Hu
leave here
Lin,
today,
who was hiding to the
Xiong
side
Yun, whose
earlier,
round
came
eyes were
over
bloodshot,
again. And a
he eagerly
terrifying
took
light
out a
flashed
water
in his
ball and
pupils.
flatteringly said
His
to Bai
voice was
Songling,
hoarse like a
"Do you want to
crazed
wash
beast,
it again?"
filled with a
Wash it.
bloodthirsty and
Bai
violent
Songling
aura.
had long known that Hu
Countless
Lin
small
was a coward,
blood-colored bells
so she didn't
condensed
care
in the
about
blood
his desertion
mist
just
and
now.
flew to Xiong Yun,
After
whose
washing
body,
the artifact
looking
clean,
very funny.
Hu Lin casually
Zishang
accepted
hugged
Yi
Yi Jioga
Jioga
and
and
whispered
whispered
in her
it to
ear,
Dong
"Be
Fang Yao.
careful. This
Dong
blood
Fang
mist
Yao
is
carefully
strange."
examined it and
Of course,
infused his spirit
Yi
energy
Jioga
into it.
nervously
His
stared at the
expression became
blood-colored
a bit
bells
heavy.
on Xiong Yun's
This was a
body.
third-rank
Before
artifact
she even
with a
finished
special
speaking,
function that could
the
only be
blood-colored
created by
bells
a
began to
fifth-rank
shake
blacksmith.
crazily.
Only
Waves
the
of
crafting school
demonic
had
sounds
fifth-rank
pierced her
blacksmiths.
ears.
Could
It was
it
as
be
if
that
the
the
countless
crafting
ants
school
had
was
drilled
in
into her
cahoots with
flesh
the
and
evil
blood and were
cultivators?
gnawing at her. Yi Jioga
If that was
trembled
the
in
case,
discomfort.
then it was
In
really
the next moment,
troublesome.
a cold
Dong
aura
Fang Yao's
drilled
mind
into her
was
body
filled with
from
Zishang's
Zishang's
palm,
but his
and
face
like a
didn't
river
show
bursting
any
through a
abnormal
dam,
expression.
it sent the ants
After
flying.
putting away the
rest
artifact,
were
he said
devoured
to
by
Yi
the
Jioga,
white bonfire
the truth
in
has
her
come to
dantian.
light.
Your
Yuan
injustice
and
has
Gong
finally
Honglei
been
were
cleared.
not as lucky
Thank
as
you for your
Yoga.
hard work. They could only tremble
Thank you,
and cover their
Grandmaster
ears,
Dongfang,
desperately
for
resisting
believing
the
in my
demonic
innocence.
sound. It was
Yoga
fine for the two of them with high
expressed her
cultivation, but
She
the
was
guards
truly
who were
grateful
only
to
elementary
Dongfang Yao.
spiritualists
If
were in trouble.
Dongfang Yao
They
also
let out
believed
shrill
that she was the
screams
head
and
of the
exploded
evil
on
cultivators
the spot.
like the others,
She wouldn't have been able to clear her name
crazily.
so easily.
He opened his mouth
Even if I
and
don't
sucked
believe
in the
you,
flesh
I
and
still
blood of the
have to
guards.
believe old man
He
Yun.
even licked his
How
lips
could his
with
only
relish.
granddaughter
Yi
become a
Zhuge
head
looked at
of
Xiong
evil
Yun, whose
cultivators?
blood-red tongue
Is
and
being a
goosebumps
head of
rose
evil
all over her
cultivators
body.
more profitable
Compared
than
to
being a
Xiong Yun,
spirit
whose
pill
move,
master?
Lu Yunfei's blood bells were like heavenly
When
music.
the others heard this,
they couldn't
Grandmaster
help but
Yi
laugh
Zhuge
out loud as
we
well,
must work
all of
together
them
to take
discussing.
down this
That's
evil
right,
cultivator
our Thunder
today.
Country respects
Otherwise,
spirit masters,
I'm afraid our lives will
followed
be
by
in danger.
alchemists.
A
Gong
spirit
Honglei
alchemist who
calmed
can
his surging
cultivate
blood
both
and
to
looked
the
at
extreme
Xiong
will
Yun, who
definitely have a
vigilantly.
bright future in Thunder
Didn't
Country.
you say that I'm the
Only
leader
a
of the
fool would
evil
want to become the
cultivators
leader
and
of the
wanted to
evil
arrest
cultivators
me and execute me on
Yi
the spot?
Yuan, Seeing that your daughter's injustice has been cleared, aren't you afraid that if word gets out, people will say that you're an accomplice of the evil cultivator who was standing to the side? Yi Jioga sneered and mocked without holding back. Really likes to joke. Yi Jioga, Jioga is my daughter. Even if I be disappointed that she has been cleared of injustice, it's hard to say that you're not his accomplice. Maybe you're not even dividing the spoils and are trying to take advantage of listening to Yi Shanshan's instigation and coming to Alchemy City. According to what you said before, I shouldn't help you even more. Causing him to lose so much face. Was really angered by Gong Honglei's words. If you don't want to help, then don't. Big sister, congratulations on recovering your innocence. Gong Honglei really angrily raised his sword and seeing that the situation was bad, he was able to join the spiritualist alliance and not only because of the Gong family's background, however, but also because of his talent and said expressionlessly, he was already a level 2 sword master and had a certain level of mastery in the gunmetal sword technique. Yi Shanshan had a wrong cultivation level and said tearfully, cultivators were the strongest, so I mistakenly had such a fiery temper. It's all my fault. I'll help you, big sister. After Yi Yuan was unable to break through the blood mist several times. I won't dare to have any understood the situation. If they didn't kill this evil cultivator, you'll go astray. They wouldn't be able to leave this place. Yi Yuan said with the dignity of a father, took out although you've cleared your name this time, which contained the flames he had collected over the years, you wouldn't have fallen into the evil cultivator's spiritual fire of heaven and earth. You should take this as a warning and be careful in the future. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation was critical, I will remember your teachings. Have taken it out. Yi Jioga looked straight into Yi Yuan's eyes and said word by word, and a greenish red flame shot out, stabbing towards Xiong Yunhu along with Gong Honglei's sword. Although he hated Yi Jioga, the golden sword light with the greenish red went against him in such a situation, it would be a great loss with an unstoppable momentum. Thus, Yi Yuan put on a stern face and said, "Father misunderstood you this illusionary whip to follow behind them. Do you still want to argue with me? Spirit power." Big sister, we're family, said lazily. Broken bones in such a tense situation, father is like doing this for your own good. Covering his mouth, he's worried that you'll go astray. So he hurried over. If you don't want to help, then forget it. He's always been thinking about you. Yi Shanshan's eyes were slightly red, not only was Zishang not angry. There's no need to say anymore. Grandmaster Ye's words always carry weight. Big breasts. Since you've already posted the Tianxia board and cut off your relationship as father and daughter, there's no need to force yourself to repair it. Chapter 202. From now on, we'll go our separate ways. This was blatant sarcasm. Whether Yi Jioga live or die, Yi Jioga has nothing to develop recently. Yi Jioga's cold voice from having big breasts, but it clearly reached everyone's situation being dire. The surrounding crowd was really wanted to beat Zishang to death with a gloating expression. Unfortunately, she was no match for him. Who told you to confuse right and wrong? Turned her humiliation into strength and to hurt your daughter's heart. A purple lightning snake at face was ashen. He had never felt so humiliated in his life. Impudent. He really wanted to slap Yi Jioga and drag her back to teach her a lesson. Purple lightning. Unfortunately, he could only think about it was just to make up the numbers. Didn't care about what Yi Yuan was thinking. He turned around and said to Dong Honglei's sword raised. Master Dongfang, unexpectedly, I still have some matters regarding evil cultivators that I want to discuss with you. How about we go to the medicine refining tower? Yi Yuan's face paled and he took 2 steps back. Then although he had held back in his attack just now, whose face was as black as the bottom of a pot, that he had been defeated so easily. Yi Jioga and the others. Fortunately, Gong Honglei's 6-yang sword was still flying. Hurriedly followed. Xiong Yun, in the blink of an eye, his blood-red hand towards the 6-yang sword. The golden sword and Yi twisted like a fish and nimbly dodged Xiong Yun's hand. Big sister Yi Jioga's eyes lit up when she saw Gong Honglei's relationship break like through the defense. We are a family. Yi Shanshan's face and controlled the 6-yang sword to stab at Xiong Yunhu's eyes. She wanted to take the opportunity to give Yi Yuan a hard time. Xiong Yunhu suddenly opened his mouth and bit the 6-yang sword. He glared at her fiercely and scolded. The sound of the sword breaking could be heard. With that, Xiong Yunhu actually bit Gong Honglei's 6-yang sword to chase after him. But she felt that it was too connected to Gong Honglei's aura and looked at the crown prince with an aggrieved expression. His vitality. The reason why she wrote a letter to encourage her father to clean up the family was also because of the crown prince. The crown prince's face was cultivator tastes like. He didn't notice Yi Shanshan's expression at all. Sword his ears were filled with the voices of the common people as if they were saying how incompetent he was. A stack of talismans. He really couldn't understand at the large palm. Yi Jioga had clearly been forced into a desperate situation. Unfortunately, so how could he turn the tables so easily? The damage from these low-level talismans was less than that of a mosquito. Su Junqing said in a low voice, approaching, at a time like this, we have to keep our composure as despair filled his heart. The crown prince turned around and led his people back and hurriedly controlled the fire gourd to shoot out several azure flames to block the crown prince back to the medicine refining building's rising sky pavilion. He would be next. She originally wanted to discuss with the crown prince what to do next. But unexpectedly, the crown prince didn't have the time to pay attention to her. He extinguished Yi Yuxuan's flames with a single palm strike, and even had people guard the door, immediately preventing her from Yi Yuxuan's fire gourd. At this moment, causing him to almost vomit blood in pain, angry and hateful. Gong Honglei was about to fall into Xiong Yunhu's hands, and Su Junqing was her cousin. These two people should be very close to her, but they both rejected her at the same time, making her body slammed into a tree and slumped down. Unfortunately, she didn't have the courage to rush into the study and cause a ruckus. She could only leave indignantly. He was sure that Yi Jioga did it on temper in the study. However, even if Brother Yi Jio had done it on purpose, Su Junqing wouldn't dare criticize him. What the hell are you doing? With his previous bad attitude towards Yi Jioga for sure? Yi Jioga, but saving his life, she's was the hero who killed the heretic cultivator. If he wanted her to treat him gently, then he must be daydreaming. I'm the clown, the biggest joke of the Thunder Country. Past grudges when we get out of here. Please, if you have a way to deal with this evil cultivator, name is only temporarily cleared, and it won't affect our grand plan much. Yi Yuxuan didn't dare to sell his father's dignity more or less done. If I had a way, I wouldn't be trapped here. Why must you waste so much effort on Yi Jioga? Although she didn't have a way, she knew that Zishang definitely had a way. The arrangements in the capital are more or less so she could only plead with Zishang in a low voice. Please, that's right. Help me one more time. Once the matter with Alchemy City is over, you will become the next emperor of the Thunder Country. Trouble in the future, but she would also not be able to clear her name. Good. I said that I only have a third of my demon power left. I won't mistreat you. Zishang said coldly. The crown prince excitedly patted Su Junqing's shoulder with a face who was extremely dangerous after swallowing the blood beads. Thank you for your appreciation. She didn't dare ask Zishang to take the risk for her. This subordinate will go now. If she couldn't do it, then she could only escape smiled in a flattering manner. If she left now, she could still get help and have a chance to save Master Dongfang. As for Yi Yuxuan and Gong Honglei, before returning to his blame their bad luck for not trusting her, which was full of confidence just a moment ago. Just as she was about to ask Zishang to take her away, she heard him say, "Although I only have a third of my demon power left, if you agree to one of my conditions, come back as soon as you recover all my demon power." After burning the communication talisman, Yi Jioga's spirit was lifted. He walked around the room a few times, and after thinking for a while, he took out a woman's ointment to disguise himself as a handsome middle-aged man. As Zishang went to the medicine refining pavilion and told the guard that he wanted to see Zhang Peng. His meaning was self-evident. Yi Jioga was speechless. Su Junqing in confusion. In the end, this demon snake was still thinking about her body. Su Junqing smiled. She wasn't afraid of it is Uncle Zhang, but she was afraid. Please wait a moment. I will call someone over. Forget it. Since she couldn't keep it was better to give it away earlier. Yi Jioga clenched her teeth and said decisively, in the alchemy pavilion, I'll give you my primordial Zijuan. So straightforward, a young man in white with regular features walked out. When he had flirted with her so many times, he said eagerly, "But this little girl refused to comply even if he beat her to death. I was just passing by, so I came to see you. I have to wait until I'm 18. Su Junqing kindly replied. saw Zishang frown and added, "Come sit here. I'll be 18 in a month." Zhang Peng brought Su Junqing to a secluded place before whispering, "Okay, the situation is so tense right now. Indeed not Why hard did you to come wait to see me?" In any case, Zishang didn't want to eat her immediately. Chapter 187. Also, you have to tell me I had no choice before sleeping. It was an emergency. I can't suddenly fall down. So I had to find you. Yi Jioga said very seriously, "The first time, I have to make some preparations." He had spent a lot of effort, Zishang was money, a bit speechless, and spells to win over Zhang Peng. An ordinary girl blush unless when it was absolutely necessary, he didn't want to use this chess piece. But now that old Zhang was killed and Liu Yufei was missing, he was a little anxious. He was really too unreserved. They are still discussing in the tea room. He liked Yi Jioga's unreserved taste. No one else can enter. You still want to use force? Zhang Peng's handsome face flashed with jealousy when he mentioned such a perverted hobby. He believed that whether it was cultivation, character, if I don't use skills, how can I do it? Worse than Li Zishang couldn't help but laugh. Grandmaster Dongfang favored Li floated around. Not only did he accept him as his last disciple, but he also handed over all matters of the alchemy pavilion to him. She was sure that Zishang was just teasing her. Had stayed in the pavilion for more than 20 years and put in a lot of effort. Problem later. Still an honorary disciple. And he would forever be talking about conditions. They were actually flirting. As long as you had already been beaten to the point of pissing his pants by Xiong Yunhu. At that time, he cried for his parents and said, disciple of the alchemy pavilion. Are you listening to me? Su Junqing tempted him. Yi Jioga coldly replied. He had made use of Zhang Peng's hatred towards Li Zijuan to win him over. Okay,
Yi
I will
Yuxuan
inform you if there is
blurted
any
out
news.
the words sinful girl.
Zhang Peng nodded
Fortunately,
and returned
he
to the
still
pavilion.
knew that he was
At this
asking for
time,
help.
Yi Zhouge,
He swallowed the
Dongfang
words in
Yao,
his throat
and
and
Li
then said
Zijuan were
pitifully,
sitting in the tea room,
no matter
discussing
what,
how to deal
I'm
with
still your
bloodthirst.
father.
She told
Do you really want to
Dongfang
watch
Yao
me
and
die?
Li Zijuan all
With
the
that,
information
he
she
hurriedly
knew about
rolled and
bloodthirsty
dodged Xiong Yunhu's
including
attack.
the methods they often used. According to you, bloodthirst is stirring up trouble in Alchemy City because he wants to use me as a bait? Chapter 203.
Dongfang Yao raised
Before
his brows.
Yi Zhouge could reply
Yes.
to Yuxuan,
Yi
Xiong
Zhouge
Yunhu had
nodded.
already started
This
laughing out loud.
bloodthirst is
Yi
quite
Yuxuan,
daring.
Oh Yuxuan,
Dongfang
it's
Yao
hard for you to
sneered.
claim to be a
He had been
Piltao
famous
master
for a long
Your
time
skin
and was
is
a top
actually
character
so
in the
thick.
Thunder Nation.
Previously,
Now,
you were
he was
shouting
being
and
used as
shouting
a
at the
bait
city
by a
gate,
heretical
calling her a
cultivator.
sinful girl.
This was a great
now,
insult to him.
You're actually asking
This
her to save your
bloodthirst
life.
is ruthless and
He
has
could have
many
killed
tricks up his
Yuxuan a
sleeves.
long time ago.
Grandmaster
Right
Dongfang,
now,
you
he
must
was just
not be
teasing him
careless.
to vent his anger.
Yi Zhouge solemnly
this Xiong
advised.
Yunhu spoke too
Humph.
well.
If he
I
came
don't
here
even have the
personally,
heart to kill
I
him.
would be a little
Yi
afraid.
Zhouge sighed
But he wants to
regretfully.
take me down by
Xiong
sending
Yunhu
a
laughed
few
arrogantly
evil
and said,
cultivators.
Yi Yuxuan,
He's looking
don't
down
worry.
on me too much.
I will definitely bring your
Dongfang
evil
Yao
daughter
was
back
truly
to our
enraged.
ancestor to love her.
He turned to Li
Yi
Zijuan
Zhouge
and said,
immediately
"Pass
changed her
down my
mind.
orders.
Forget it.
Offer a
The weather
reward
is
of
cold.
1,000
Let
gold
him
coins
die."
for any clues
She
leading
hated
to
those
the heretical
scumbags who kept saying
cultivators
that
and
women were
10,000
playthings.
words for their heads.
Let's wait a little
Then
longer.
send out
Zishang
all the
said
guards of
calmly.
Alchemy City.
What are you waiting
We must
for?
find the bloodthirsty
Yi Zhouge
sect's
didn't
heretical
understand.
cultivators
There is
and
a
kill them
time limit
all.
for his blood beads.
Yes. It won't
Li
be too
Zijuan
late to kill
nodded,
him after
then
he's
asked
done playing with
hesitantly,
him. What about the
Zishang
crown
said
prince
coolly,
and Su Junqi?
I can wait,
but you must
don't
protect
touch
the
them yet.
Yuxuan and Gong
Send someone to
Honglei's
keep an eye
lives.
on them.
That way, my contribution
After
will be
I
doubled.
eradicate the
Yi
remnants
Zhouge
of the
added.
bloodthirsty sect,
Otherwise,
I will
if the people of
personally
Alchemy
send
City
Dongfang
rushed in
and
and
saw
this
a pile of
blind
corpses,
fool,
they
to
would blame
Shangjing
her
to
again.
be punished by his
Sure,
father.
Zishang
Yao
said
said
indifferently.
indifferently. In his
How did
eyes,
their Dongfang
Yuxuan
family
and Gong
produce such a
Honglei were just
muddle-headed
two
thing?
ants. He
Since
actually
Xiao
mixed
Zhouge
with
said he
evil
would stay,
cultivators.
then he would.
He must be tired of living.
enough. I understand.
Xiong Yunhu
Li
naturally
Zijuan
knew that his
solemnly.
blood transformation
Yi Zhouge
time was
frowned and
limited.
disagreed.
However,
Grandmaster,
he felt that
Su
the overall
Junqing
situation was
sinister
under
and
his
cunning
control
person
and
with
that no
many
one
tricks
in
up his
Alchemy
sleeve.
City was his
I'm
opponent.
afraid it's not
This
good
was
to
why
leave
he
him
was in the
alone.
mood to tease
I think it's better
Yuxuan
to
and
lock him
Gong
up
Honglei.
first.
Seeing
It would
that it
be
was
even
almost
better
time,
if they could
and the two of
immediately
them were
announce
already
Su
half
Junqing's
dead,
identity
it was
as
time
a
to call it a
heretical
day.
cultivator.
With this
That
thought in
way,
mind,
they wouldn't
Xiong
have to
Yunhu
worry
shot
about
out
him
two
using the
extremely
bewitching
viscous
art
blood
again.
swords that
I
flew
know what
towards
to do.
Yuxuan and Gong
You don't need
Honglei.
to say anything
These
more.
two blood swords were even
Dongfang
more
Yao shook
powerful
his
than
head.
Lu Yunfei.
The Su family
As long
had
as
deep
one
roots
roots in
in
Shangjing
they
and
would
was deeply
immediately
involved
turn
with the
into
Crown
two
Prince.
streams of
If
blood
they
and be
rashly
sucked into
captured
the
Su
Xiong Yunhu's
Junqing,
stomach.
he was afraid that the
Yuxuan
Crown
collapsed
Prince
to
would
the
be dragged
ground,
into this.
gasping for breath.
No matter how hateful
He no
the
longer
Crown
had the
Prince was,
strength to
he was
dodge
still
the
a
blood
member
sword.
of the
Gong
Dongfang family.
Honglei barely
If the
raised his
scandal
arm,
of him
but
colluding with
unfortunately,
heretical
that bit of
cultivators
spirit
was
force
exposed,
couldn't stop the
it would have a
blood sword
great
at all.
impact on the
Quick,
Dongfang
save
family
him,
and might even
Yi
shake
Zhouge
the hearts of the
anxiously
people.
pulled Zishang's
As a member
sleeve
of
and
the
said,
Dongfang
if they
family,
die,
he had
then
to think
don't blame
more
me
about
for
the
breaking
family.
the contract.
Yi Zhouge saw
What's
that
the hurry?
Dongfang Yao had already said this
Zishang rolled
much
his
and
eyes
didn't
at
say
Yi Zhouge.
anything else.
He lazily
Instead,
raised his
he
hand
asked
and
Li
opened
Zijuan
and
about the
closed his
matter
jade
of
trapping
White
Lu Yunfei.
An incomparably
Senior
powerful
apprentice
aura
brotherly,
shot out
you
from
made
his palm.
such a thorough
Two
plan last
whooshing
night.
sounds were heard.
How did brother one get
Yuxuan
injured?
and Gong Honglei's bodies
Last
were
night,
like
we
marionettes,
used the treasure-seeking
diagonally
scorpion that you gave
backwards.
us to lure
Two
Lu Yunfei
blood-red
over.
swords pierced
However,
through the place where
that
they had
woman
just
was
been,
indeed
creating
powerful.
two large
She
holes.
killed many of our people and injured brother one.
In the end,
We
Yi
couldn't
Yuxuan's
stop her,
eyes
and
lit up.
even the
He knew
treasure-seeking
that Yi
scorpion
Zhouge
was
had stolen
saved him.
by her.
Just
Li
as he was about
Zijuan
to
lowered
speak,
his head
the world
and said in
suddenly
shame.
spun around him.
It was because
and
of
one
this
of his
that he
nostrils
invited his
seemed to be
master out
pierced by
and let his
something.
master
He took a
personally
closer
take
look
charge
and
of the
found that
situation.
Gong Honglei's finger
Lu
was stuck in his
Yunfei
nostril,
is the direct
and his
disciple
smelly
of the
foot was right
bloodthirsty
next to Gong
ancestor.
Honglei's mouth.
She has many
The
treasures
vines
on
wrapped
her.
around them tightly
It's normal that
and
you
hung
didn't
them
check the
upside
corpse.
down.
Yi
Such a
Zhouge
difficult
comforted
pose
him
was
with good
definitely
intentions.
done by someone with
Normal
malicious
my
intent.
ass. Vulgar.
Dong Feng Yao glared
Yi
at Li
Zioge looked at
Zijuan
Yi
and
Yuan
and Gong
"What did I
Hongwei,
tell you
who were
before?
sticking their noses
just
in
bury
and
yourself
smelling
in
their
cultivating
stinky feet.
alchemy all
He didn't
day.
want to admit that
You
he
also
felt
need to
a
take
little
care of your
refreshed.
spiritual techniques.
Who's there? Last night,
Xiong Yun,
if
who
it wasn't
didn't
for Wan
expect that there
Xian
would be
blocking a
someone
palm for
hiding
you,
under the
you would
blood
have lost
mist,
your life.
and that he hadn't
Don't
discovered
think
them.
that you can protect
At this
yourself
moment,
just
he
because you
remembered
have a
that when
lot
he
of
was
spirit
chasing
guards
after
around
Yi
you.
Zioge,
In
she
this
was
world,
also saved
only
by a
relying on
mysterious
yourself
person.
is the safest.
Xiong Yunhu,
You've done
Master
all
is right.
sorts of evil.
This disciple
You
knows
colluded
his
with Su
mistake.
Junqing to
Li
frame me,
Zijuan
and you
hurriedly
even
bowed in
caused the
acknowledgement.
deaths of so many
In the
people.
past, he always
Surrender.
thought that if he
Yi
cultivated his
Zioge
alchemy
shouted
techniques
arrogantly.
well, he
You
wouldn't
think
have
you
to
can make
worry
me
about his
surrender?
safety if he hired more guards.
Xiong Yunhu looked berserk on the surface, but his palm moved slightly in secret. An extremely viscous blood mist turned into a poisonous snake, and under the cover of the blood mist, It silently flew towards Yi Jioge. Bang! The blood snake exploded on the spot before it could even get close to Yi Jioge. Xiong Yunhu's heart palpitated again. This time, it was as if a large hand was tightly squeezing his heart. He had never felt like this before. It was the despair of dying. He instantly knew that the mysterious person behind Yi Jioge was not someone he could deal with. He immediately roared, and the blood mist around his body turned into countless sharp swords that shot towards Yi Jioge like a torrential storm. This was his final trump card, the myriad blood arrow. He usually used it to kill his enemies, but this time, he used it to escape. Xiong Yunhu didn't even dare to look at the result of using this move. He turned around and rushed towards Dongfang Yao's room. Although it was a pity that he couldn't bring Yi Jioge and the two blood-clothed Miao people back, as long as he brought Dongfang Yao back, he would have completed his mission. He believed that the ancestor wouldn't blame him. Xiong Yunhu's plan was very clear, but before he could fly into Dongfang Yao's room, a strange and powerful force attacked him from behind. He suddenly turned around to meet it with his palm, but it was as if he had hit the air. Be obedient, don't make this sovereign waste his demon power. An ethereal and pleasant voice rang out. Following this, a beautiful and seductive face appeared in the air. Black hair like ink, red lips like blood, and a demonic smile. Especially those pitch-black eyes, which were shrouded in a mysterious light. Those pupils gradually shrank, turning into purple vertical pupils. Countless tiny pupils spun around in his eyes, like a kaleidoscope, dazzling and enchanting. Xiong Yunhu was attracted by those bewitching purple pupils, and he couldn't help but say, "Okay. Good child." Zi Shang smiled slightly, and his black fingernails grew and suddenly slashed across Xiong Yunhu's neck. With a plop, Xiong Yunhu's head rolled down from his neck. Fresh blood spurted out, dyeing the entire door red and forming a river. Zi Shang stood in this blood and looked back at Yi Jioge with a smile. His beautiful jade-like face was still stained with a drop of Xiong Yunhu's blood. He looked so beautiful, so moving, bloodthirsty, and seductive, it was simply shocking. His beauty carried a heavy killing intent and the domineering aura of a powerhouse that said, "Submit to me and prosper, or oppose me and perish." He attacked Yi Jioge from all directions, leaving her nowhere to run. Yi Jioge's little heart was about to shrink. Why did she feel that after Zi Shang transformed into his human form, he was even more demonic and terrifying than before when he was in his half-snake form? Fortunately, I didn't fail you. Zi Shang returned to Yi Jioge's side. He placed his right hand on his chest and slightly bowed, as if he was reporting to his own leader. Yi Jioge came back to her senses, and only then did she realize that Zi Shang killed the terrifying Xiong Yunhu in one move. She instantly felt like she was tricked and couldn't help but shout, "Didn't you say that you only have 1/3 of your demon power left?" Yes, after killing that Xiong Yunhu, this sovereign didn't have any demon power left. Zi Shang blinked innocently, and then raised his hand to support his forehead. His body swayed and fell on Yi Jioge's body, and said weakly, "Aya, I can't take it anymore, this sovereign is so dizzy, quickly support me." Chapter 204. Keep pretending. Yi Jioge pushed him twice, but he couldn't push Zi Shang away. He could only resign himself to his fate and let him stay. "Don't you want to see your spoils?" He didn't forget to give Yi Jioge some benefits. "Oh right." Yi Jioge's eyes brightened as he took Xiong Yunhu's storage pouch. As the head disciple of the Bloodthirst School, this guy must have a lot of good stuff. Yi Jioge had to take a good look later. Yi Jioge put away Xiong Yunhu's pouch and entered the room to check on Grandmaster Dongfang. Xiong Yunhu's blood mist was broken with his death. The Crown Prince, Yi Shanshan, and Gong Honglei's men, as well as the fourth-ranked alchemists from Alchemy City, Elder Chen and Elder Shao, all rushed in. The originally beautiful alchemy pavilion had turned into hell. The ground was littered with broken limbs and the stench of blood was nauseating. Grandmaster Yi and young Master Gong are over there. Elder Chen's sharp eyes immediately saw the half-dead Yi Yuxuan and Gong Honglei hanging from a tree. "Grandmaster Yi, young Master Gong, are you two all right?" Everyone rushed to save them. Brother Honglei, where did Yi Jioga go? The crown prince squeezed in front of Gong Honglei and asked while reaching out to help him. Gong Honglei avoided the crown prince's hand and stood up with his trusted sword boy's shoulder. He coldly said, "Young Miss Yi is protecting Grandmaster Dongfeng. If it wasn't for her, Grandmaster Yi, Grandmaster Dongfeng, and I would have been dead by now." "What did you say? Yi Jioga was protecting Grandmaster Dongfeng and she even saved you? Are you joking?" The crown prince raised his voice, wondering if Gong Honglei's head was broken. "I'm not joking. Yi Jioga is not the leader of the heretics. She has always been protecting us, Grandmaster Dongfeng, and all of Alchemy City. On the other hand, Dongfeng Jianming, you are the one who is distorting the truth and putting the blame on Yi Jioga. You misled me to deal with her and almost killed a good person." Gong Honglei roared at the crown prince. "Gong Honglei, who are you talking to?" The crown prince's face turned red from anger. Other than his father, no one dared to call him by his name. "Of course I know who I'm talking to. You're the B*TCH who let Xiong Yunhu in and caused Master Dongfeng to be poisoned. What the F***ck are your intentions?" Gong Honglei was still scared when he recalled the scene just now. He was so close to dying on the spot. He was about to lose his life, so why would he care about who the crown prince was? Of course, he would scold him as he pleased. The crown prince was so enraged by Gong Honglei that his face and neck turned red. He loosened and clenched his fists, on the verge of exploding. "All right, everyone, stop talking. Xiong Yunhu is extremely well hidden, and His Highness the Crown Prince didn't let him in on purpose. Let's hurry up and go in to see Master Dongfeng." Yi Yuxuan struggled to stand up. "Father, is it really Yi No, big sister who killed that evil cultivator and saved you?" Yi Shanshan and the Crown Prince stood at the entrance of the Alchemy Pavilion. That blood-red light was extremely terrifying. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't blast it away. One could only imagine how terrifying the evil cultivator who laid down this layer of bloody light was. She did not believe that Yi Jioga could kill such an evil cultivator. If Yi Jioga really had that kind of ability, he wouldn't have been forced to surrender. Although she didn't personally kill him, the expert who did it must have a great relationship with her. When you go in later, you must be very respectful. Don't anger the expert. Yi Yuxuan warned Yi Shanshan sternly. He was hanging upside down on the tree just now, so he couldn't see very clearly. He only saw a purple shadow flash where Yi Jioga was, and 5 breaths later, Xiong Yunhu's head fell to the ground. The whole process happened in the blink of an eye, so fast that it was unimaginable. It was like a dream. He didn't see the expert's appearance clearly. He only saw Yi Jioga casually put away Xiong Yunhu's storage bag. Only then did he believe that the expert and Yi Jioga had an affair, or else he wouldn't have allowed her to plunder his spoils of war. "Yes, I understand." Yi Shanshan replied obediently. An expert that even her father admired was definitely not a simple person. If she tried to rope him in, he would definitely be of great use. "Master Yi, is that expert really that powerful?" The Crown Prince had been rejected by Gong Honglei, so he could only come to Yi Yuxuan to inquire about the news. Young Master Gong and I were beaten by Xiong Yunhu without any ability to fight back. That expert made Xiong Yunhu's head fall to the ground in one move. Do you think he's powerful? Yi Yuxuan said with emotion. If he had known that Yi Jioga knew such an expert, he definitely wouldn't have kicked Yi Jioga out of the house. However, since Yi Jioga was willing to save him, it meant that she still cared about their father-daughter relationship. No matter what, he was still her father. As long as he coaxed her a bit, she should let bygones be bygones. Yi Yuxuan was busy calculating, so he didn't notice the Crown Prince's panicked expression and guilty eyes. Su Junqing used the excuse that Xiong Yunhu was a level 2 alchemist and was very good at curing strange poisons, so he asked the Crown Prince to recommend him to take care of Master Dongfeng. At that time, Old Chen and Old Xiao strongly objected, feeling that they shouldn't let outsiders take care of Master Dongfeng. It was because of his solemn pledge that Old Chen and Old Xiao allowed Xiong Yunhu to enter the Alchemy Pavilion. Now that Xiong Yunhu's identity as an evil cultivator was exposed, he and Su Junqing would be in danger. In that case, Su Junqing didn't disappear at all, but ran away when he found out that the matter was exposed. That damned piece of trash had really caused him so much trouble. Gong Honglei was already suspicious of the crown prince, so he had been secretly observing his expression. Seeing that his expression changed again and again, without any joy of killing the evil cultivator and finding the real culprit, he knew that the crown prince was guilty. Maybe his sister's death was also related to him. Because when he came to the alchemy city, he personally asked Dongfang Jiaming to take care of his sister, and his sister also replied that the crown prince was very close to her. Thinking of this, Gong Honglei wanted to kill Dongfang Jiaming. However, after the evil stand just now, he had exhausted his spiritual power, and the 6-yang sword was also destroyed. If he acted rashly, he was afraid that he would beat the grass and alert the enemy. He could only suppress the anger in his heart and coldly said to the crown prince, "Put other things aside, the most important thing now is the safety of Master Dongfang." Young Master Gong is right, let's quickly go in and see Master Dongfang. Old Shen and Old Xiao quickly nodded. Although they were level 4 alchemists, they usually only cultivated and never cared about worldly things. So after Master Dongfang and Li Zijuan fell, they left everything to the Crown Prince and Zhang Peng to deal with. They didn't expect that the Crown Prince and Zhang Peng would make a mess of things, so they had to personally take care of it. Chapter 205. The Crown Prince, Yi Yuxuan, Yi Shanshan, Gong Honglei, Elder Chen, Elder Xiao, and the others squeezed into the room. After passing through the outer hall and entering the inner room, they saw Yi Jioga sitting in front of Master Dongfang's bed. She was calmly taking his pulse with a solemn expression on her beautiful face. Behind her stood a breathtakingly beautiful man dressed in a light purple robe. When he saw the crowd enter, he put a white finger to his rosy lips and made a shushing gesture. It was a simple action, but it was incomparably enchanting and magical. It was so beautiful that it was suffocating. Everyone couldn't help but hold their breaths and stare at him in a daze. Yi Shanshan stood dumbfounded on the spot. She didn't expect there to be such a seductive man in the world. Although the Crown Prince was considered a dragon among men and was extraordinarily handsome, compared to the man in front of her, the difference was like the clouds and mud. Yi Shanshan felt her heart pounding. It was about to fly out of her mouth and fall into the man's hands. Yi Shanshan wasn't the only one who thought this. Even the Crown Prince and Gong Honglei were head over heels for Zishang. He thought to himself, no wonder there are gay men in this world. Such a beautiful man, he would even be willing to kneel at his feet. After Yi Jioga finished taking Master Dongfang's pulse, she looked up and saw a large group of people staring at Zishang. She couldn't help but fake a few coughs and give Zishang a warning look. You know you're a monster, so don't release your hormones. It will cause trouble for me. Zishang smiled at Yi Jioga, as if to say, I know, my charm will only bloom for you. The two of them exchanged flirtatious glances with each other. Only then did everyone wake up from Zishang's enchantment. Yi Shanshan tidied up her hair and shyly bowed to Zishang. She used her most pleasant voice to ask, May I ask for your name, master? Zishang didn't reply. Instead, he lowered his head and asked Yi Jioga, What do you think I should call you? Whatever you like. Why are you asking me? Yi Jioga felt very unhappy after receiving Yi Shanshan's hatred. I'm your guard, so I naturally have to listen to you. Please give me a name, Mississippi. Zishang's voice was very gentle. Bestow your head to hell. Yi Jioga didn't think that he had the face to give Zishang a name, so he said perfunctorily, If it's convenient for you to call me by your original name, then just call me by your original name. Yi Jioga had considered that Zishang had always been secretive and could not be seen, so he gave him a way out. All right, I'll take your surname then. I'll be called Yi Zi. Zishang smiled. The name of the Yaoma could not be easily revealed to others. In this world, besides Yi Jioga, no one was worthy of calling him by his name. Yi Zi isn't bad either. Yi Jioga nodded perfunctorily, then said to Yi Shanshan, who was completely stunned, Did you hear that? His name is Yi Zi. Yi Shanshan didn't expect this handsome man to be so loyal to Yi Jioga. He even wanted her to give him a name. Her heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. So, the master's name is Yi Zi. Yi Yuxuan immediately let out a hearty laugh and said, "Thank you for taking care of my little girl Jioga. Since you chose to have the same surname as us, we'll be family from now on." "Who's family with you?" "Grandmaster Yi, don't forget that we're no longer related," Yi Jioga said with a straight face. "Jioga, what happened before was father's fault. Father already knows that he was wrong. Please forgive father this once." Yi Yuxuan pulled down his old face and begged. "Grandmaster Yi, how could I dare to be angry at you? Even if I'm not angry, you want my life. If I'm really angry, I'll be poisoned to death by you in the middle of the night." Yi Jioga sneered. "It's all my fault. You can scold me however you want, as long as you're still willing to recognize me as your father." Yi Yuxuan was in a sorry state. He was covered in mud and had a head injury. He used such a humble and pitiful tone to beg Yi Jioga. Everyone who saw it felt that Yi Jioga was too heartless. Yi Jioga was also very helpless against Yi Yuxuan's thick skin. In the past, Yi Yuxuan would fling his sleeves and walk away if he used words to pressure him. Now, he was completely shameless. He wanted to beat him up, but he couldn't find an excuse to do so. It was really sullen. "Jioga?" Yi Yuxuan wanted to continue, but he saw Zishang raise his hand. His body involuntarily flew in front of Zishang. Zishang grasped the air and lifted Yi Yuxuan up. Yi Yuxuan's face turned purple as he struggled with all his might. He grabbed at his neck with both hands, trying to break free from the force that was strangling his neck, but it was useless. "Yi Zi, just teach him a lesson. Don't make it seem like you're resigned to your fate." Yi Jioga's tone was indifferent, fully showing her heartlessness towards Yi Yuxuan. "Yes." Zishang replied gently. He raised his hand and threw Yi Yuxuan out. Yi Yuxuan flew out like a kite with a broken string. He hung on a tree and fainted. "Father!" Yi Shanshan screamed and pointed at Yi Jioga angrily. "Big sister, even if father is in the wrong, he is still our father. Have you forgotten the kindness of giving birth to us? How dare you do such a vicious thing to father?" Yi Shanshan's words were stuck in her throat. No matter what she said, she couldn't say it. She looked at Zishang with wide eyes in horror. She couldn't believe that he would treat her like this. "Noisy." Zishang calmly retracted his hand, then looked around and asked softly, "Who else?" The people who were swept by his gaze felt like frogs being stared at by a poisonous snake. They couldn't help but shiver and couldn't say a word. They all shook their heads desperately. What a joke. This was the person who killed Xiong Yunhu in one move. Moreover, he didn't even give face to Yi Jioga's father, Yi Yuxuan. Who would dare to be impudent in front of him? "Alright, stop scaring people. You're tired. Go and rest." Yi Jioga patted Zishang's arm in satisfaction. It wouldn't be good if he acted too much and caused public anger. "Yes." Zishang gave him face and replied. He restrained his aura and took a step back. He was clearly still standing there, but inexplicably he didn't seem to exist. An expert. He was definitely an expert. This strange move made Elder Chen, Elder Xiao, and the others even more shocked. They couldn't figure out Zishang's background and were even more afraid of Yi Jioga. "Ooh." Yi Shanshan, who had been forgotten by everyone, pointed at Yi Jioga and then at her throat, asking Yi Jioga to save her. "If you take Grandmaster Yi away now, I will consider giving you a chance to speak." Yi Jioga's tone was very calm, but everyone could hear the threat in it. Yi Shanshan gritted her teeth and looked at Zishang bitterly. In the end, she turned around and took Yi Yuxuan away from the tree. "Alright, everyone. Let's talk about Grandmaster Dongfang now." Yi Jioga smiled faintly and turned everyone's attention back to him. "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.